Hello, welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Mina Daniels. Let's begin with the headlines. National Assembly takes constitutional amendment public hearing to zones. 2025 first biennial training for de-inducted troops in various theaters of operation opens in Sokoto. Plus, United Kingdom joins new European Union sanctions targeting Russia oil exports. Maurice Kamto, one of President Paul Biya's critics, has submitted his candidacy for the October presidential election in Cameroon, just as Cuba removes age limit for presidential candidates. Chukwunonso Wabueze has the details.
According to a list published by election authorities, Maurice Kamto has submitted his candidacy for October's presidential election. Kamto, 71, who came second to Biya in the 2018 presidential election, will stand for the African Movement for New Independence and Democracy, MANIDEM. The party's leader, Ancient Ekane, confirmed to the media. In 2018, Kamto stood for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, MRC, but Ekane said he will resign from the party to join MANIDEM, a party founded in the 1990s and rooted in Pan-Africanism. The 92-year-old Biya is seeking an 8th term in office and has been in power since 1982. So far, 19 candidates have signed up to stand in the October 12 election, including former Prime Minister Bello Buaba Maigari, an ally of Biya for nearly 30 years, and Issa Bakari, who resigned as Employment Minister in early June to submit his candidacy. The definitive list of candidates will be announced in early August. In other news, Cuba has removed age limit for presidential candidates in a reform approved by the National Assembly. The 2019 Constitution had set it at 60 years for first-time contenders. The 5-year term is renewable once, while the minimum age of 35 remains unchanged. The approved constitutional reform is a legitimate and fair act, says Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel. It responds to the current realities of the country and stays true to our history, he added. Chukwunonso Wabueze, NTA News.
And to ensure easy access to legal information in Ghana, lawyers, judicial service personnel and parliamentarians have issued a communique pledging to support the creation of a national digital portal. At a seminar on sustainable access to law, the legal practitioners and lawmakers underscored the role of open, timely and reliable access to legal information in a democracy.
The workshop, organized for Ghanaian legal practitioners and judicial sector stakeholders, was part of efforts to facilitate public access to law through a national digital portal. The webpage will contain all important legal information and documents for public use. This is underlined by the essential role that open, timely and reliable access to legal information plays in a democracy. Advances made in the digital space and growth of Ghana's democracy also makes such a portal more timeless. The seminar was under the auspices of the Ghana Legal Information Institute. The founder of the institute, Mr. Osei Bunsu Amwa, who is also a former sports minister and lawmaker, says stakeholders need to be abreast of current trends in the legal environment.
The main thing is how do we make legal information accessible to everybody. If you hear of Africa Lee is now coordinating a lot of these institutes in Africa. But outside Africa, we have even a lot of these institutions. The famous one is CanLII, that's Canada. We have American Lee. All these institutions are aimed at making the law accessible, free of charge to the average person.
The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Bernard Ahiafo, noted that all citizens have a right to know the law and have easy access to it.
Most importantly, we must live here with a clear and achievable roadmap, a commitment to our citizens that by 2027, every Ghanaian will have easy access to all laws, judgments, and gazettes at their fingertips. This goes beyond the use of technology. It is about democracy, fairness, and economic opportunity. Transparent and accessible laws strengthens our courts, helps our businesses thrive, and build trust between the people and their government.
The lawmakers and legal practitioners consider the creation of the Legal Information Digital Portal their constitutional responsibility to ensure that all citizens can freely and easily access Ghana's laws, legislative documents, official gazettes, and court judgments.
Well, at least 34 bodies have been recovered and 11 people rescued after a tourist boat capsized in Vietnam's Ha Long Bay on Saturday. Search and rescue efforts are underway for those who are still missing in a vessel that was carrying 53 people, including 48 tourists and 5 crew members. Nationalities of those on board have not yet been stated. The ship, called the Wonder Sea, was caught in a storm around 1:30 p.m. local time, which caused it to capsize. The Navy, border guards, police and port authorities, along with 27 boats and 2 rescue crafts, were mobilized to the scene. However, heavy rain and limited visibility due to nightfall were making rescue operations difficult. The capsize reportedly happened near the Daogo Cave, one of the largest in the bay. Ha Long Bay is a popular tourist hotspot and a UNESCO World Heritage Site comprising about 1,600 limestone islands and islets. The Metropolitan Police have arrested 55 demonstrators in central London holding placards which express support for Palestinian action, as dozens were detained at similar protests across the country. It is the 3rd weekend in a row which protests against the proscription of Palestinian action as a terror group have ended in mass arrests in the capital after 42 were hauled away by police last weekend. The force confirmed on Saturday it has started making arrests after demonstrators wrote the message, and I quote, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestinian action," on white placards and held the signs aloft before being surrounded by police officers at the Manhattan Gandhi statue in Parliament Square. The Metropolitan Police said 55 people were arrested under Section 13 of the Terrorism Act 2000 for holding the signs in support of the banned group. Some were carried away by officers, while others were led away in handcuffs. A small number of counter-protesters held up placards which said there is no genocide, but there are 50 hostages still captive. The police said 70 people were arrested at similar demonstrations in Parliament Square over the past 2 weekends. United States President Donald Trump has signed the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, following its landmark passage by the House of Representatives on Thursday. Plus, United Kingdom joins new European Union sanctions targeting Russia oil exports. Chukunansa Nwabweze reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump, at the signing of the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, popularly known as the Genius Act, called it a massive validation of the cryptocurrency community.
The Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet. You have certainly, as an industry, gone up more than anybody. Nobody's gained the respect in such a short period of time. But this signing is a massive validation of your hard work and your pioneering spirit and your ability to never give up.
House legislators on Thursday passed the Genius Act, which codifies the use of stable coins, that is, cryptocurrencies pegged to stable assets like the US dollar or US bonds. President Trump also at the event reaffirmed his opposition to a US central bank digital currency.
I also remain fully committed to my pledge never to allow the creation of a central bank digital currency in America. It won't happen.
The Senate had passed the Genius Act last month, and it sets requirements such as mandating that issuers hold reserves of assets equal in value to the outstanding cryptocurrency. This wave of legislation follows years of skepticism towards crypto, driven by the belief that the sector born from Bitcoin's success should be tightly controlled and kept separate from mainstream investors. Reports say President Trump is preparing to open the $9 trillion U.S. retirement market to cryptocurrency investments, as well as gold and private equity. Meanwhile, British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves says the UK is joining the European Union in ramping up economic pressure on Russia by slashing a price cap meant to choke off revenues from key oil exports.
This is not Britain acting alone. This is a partnership with our European allies to put maximum pressure on Russia and reduce their ability to fund their war effort. The oil price cap that's been in place since 2022 has already had an impact on reducing Russian oil revenues. But today we are going further to support Ukraine and to put pressure on Russia.
Reeves disclosed this at the sidelines of G20 gathering in South Africa. Chukunonsonwa Boeze, NTA News.
The Committee of Permanent Representatives of the EU has approved the European Union's 18th package of sanctions against Russia at an extraordinary meeting held on Friday, 18th of July. Haman Jabani reports on this and other discussions reached at the meeting.
The package includes sanctions on 105 ships from Russia's shadow fleet and on the entities enabling their operations. A registry of ship flags will be introduced to identify and track these vessels, which are used to obscure the origin of Russian oil. For the first time, the EU will sanction a foreign-based refinery, India's largest Rosneft facility, due to its role in the processing and moving Russian oil. The package also targets individuals and organizations involved in indoctrinating Ukrainian children in Russian-occupied territories. In addition, 22 Russian banks will face new financial restrictions aimed at cutting their access to international funding. Brussels will also ban the export of European technologies used in Russian drone production.
So I hope that the meeting in New York in 2 weeks now will be an important one going in the right direction. But we have a lot of symbolic decisions to take and we have some effective decisions to take. And I just see that for the moment effective decisions are difficult to take because most of them are unanimity. And even some of the QMV, I'm not sure that we have a majority. So very difficult.
Europe is in crucial times. We need to be able to defend ourselves. We are challenged on our competitiveness. We have to boost innovation and we have to have a budget that responds to all those new challenges. So obviously we have to have a new architecture on the budget and we're very happy to facilitate these discussions.
I also emphasise the importance of overseas aid and development and indeed regional funds such as the Peace Plus programme, which are very, very important to Ireland. We also had a discussion, which is still ongoing, about the Spain's languages proposal, and we will again have further meetings of the General Affairs Council into the autumn on the MFF proposal, and indeed this will form a central part of Ireland's presidency of the Council of the European Union next year.
The EU will set a moving cap price on Russian crude at 50% below its average market price. EU diplomats say aiming to improve on the largely ineffective €60 cap that the group of 7 major economies have tried to impose since December 2022. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation has announced an increase in revenue collection for the month of June. This is as a total of 1.818 trillion naira has been disbursed among the federal government, state governments and local government councils from the Federation account. A breakdown of the gross statutory revenue shows significant increase, with 3.485 trillion naira received in June 2025, a rise of 1.390 trillion naira compared to 2.094 trillion naira recorded in May 2025. However, gross revenue from value-added tax saw a decrease, falling by 64.655 billion naira from 642.820 billion naira in May to 678.165 billion naira in June. As part of the ongoing constitutional amendment process, the National Assembly is holding simultaneous zonal public hearings in designated centers nationwide to gather the inputs of citizens on critical national issues. National Assembly correspondent Metaire Ikpen is at the zonal public hearing holding at the International Conference Center in Enugu State to give us an update. And it's over to you now, Metaire.
All right, many thanks for joining me, studio. This is the Constitution Review public hearing for the Southeast Zone A, comprising of Enugu, Ebonyi, and Anambra states. We have many Nigerians from various walks of life here in the Southeast who have come here to make their inputs and their proposals into the Constitution Review process. We have various bills and proposals that cut across electoral reforms, judicial reforms, local government autonomy, state creation, the quest, the clamor for state police, and even gender equity and inclusion. These are the various issues for which Nigerians will be submitting their memoranda to the Constitution Review Committee here in Enugu. At this point in time, I have joining me on set Chinedu Oga. Representative Oga, can you tell us some of the predominant issues that will be discussed here at the Southeast Zone A public hearing?
Yes, my name is Right Honorable Comrade Chinedu Oga Owen. I'm the Deputy Chairman of this public hearing made up of Anambra, Enugu, and Ebonyi states. We are here to hear from the masses on the amendment of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended 1999 Constitution, and we are here to hear from the masses. Most of the burning issue is the creation of the additional local government in Southeast, addition of the states in the Southeast, addition of other amenities like creation of the state police, and equally more other things that they needed, and equally the things that the women are clamoring for. And being here today, you have seen all the security agents, the masses, the traditional ruler, the youth, and all ramifications are here to air their view.
Many thanks, Metaire. It's now time to take a break. Thanks for staying on. An advocacy for the establishment of constitutional courts to adjudicate on all electoral matters is underway. Former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Joseph Daudu SAN, made the advocacy at a forum on his input in addressing the challenges of modern-day Nigeria through constitutional amendment. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi of our judiciary desk reports.
On electoral reforms, the legal icon who used to be the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Joseph Daudu SAN, canvasses the need for the establishment of trial constitutional court, intermediate appeal constitutional court, and final constitutional court. The legal practitioner with 45 years post-call experience, Joseph Daudu SAN, posits that the jurisdiction of these courts should be limited to political, pre- and post-election cases, judicial review of administrative action, as well as all cases and appeals arising from the interpretation of the Electoral Act 2022 and similar legislations. Joseph Daudu, a member of the Inner Bar for 30 years, says this arrangement will free the regular courts from political interference and delays arising from the clogging of their dockets with political cases.
The most desirable constitutional amendment would have been to insulate all these courts identified in section 6565A to J, totally and comprehensively from any political or electoral related cases. As things stand, it is estimated that across board, 75% of judicial time, and I use my own cases as an empirical example, 75% of judicial time is expended by our courts in resolving and adjudicating on civil, criminal, political, and electoral matters relating to politicians and politically exposed persons.
On the creation of additional states, the legal practitioner appeals to Nigerians to tread cautiously and consider the huge financial implications of this act on the nation.
In other case, states are not created based on perceived marginalization, but on the strength of several strong factors, the most important of which is viability in economic terms. Based on the weak economical ground that the nation presently stands, what should be the agenda of state creation is the transmutation of the 36 states to 6 institutionalized geopolitical zones. That is what every patriotic Nigerian should back.
Assessing the issue of local government autonomy and the limits of the recent Supreme Court's decision and the imperative for constitutional amendment, Joseph Daudu SAN advocates a deliberate and comprehensive constitutional amendment. In view of the importance of constitutional amendment to the development of a country, participants at the Rule of Law Development Foundation's webinar have the opinion that the process should be used to correct foundational defects in the subsisting ground. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Factional National Executive Committee of Labour Party, loyal to Mr. Peter Obi, has inaugurated the Interim National Working Committee led by Senator Nenade Usman. At an enlarged meeting of the party, NEC also approved the schedule of party congresses and national convention by the Interim National Working Committee. David Ire reports.
In line with the approved schedule, NEC mandated the National Secretariat to publish the guidelines and timelines for the congresses and convention to ensure transparent and democratic elections at all levels. The NEC directed the working committee to immediately constitute statutory committees to supervise membership revalidation and new members' registration across the country. The committees shall also work with the National Secretariat, state chairmen and the relevant stakeholders to ensure credibility and inclusiveness after the National Secretariat has published the list and membership of the committees.
The NEC calls on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and all security agencies to discharge their statutory responsibilities impartially and professionally to ensure free, fair, and credible elections in the forthcoming elections.
We are here is to ensure that our party is preserved. And whatever it costs, we must preserve our party.
I will urge every Nigerian to reach out to the liberal class, the working people, the farmers, traders, and all artisans to own the party that it is their party.
On the forthcoming Anambra governorship and other scheduled by-elections, the party promised to support its members to victory and reaffirmed its commitment to internal democracy, rule of law, and the supremacy of the Labour Party constitution, appealing for unity and reconciliation of members. In Abuja, David Ire, NTA News.
Ask what you can do for your country and not what your country will do for you. This popular expression, meant to stir the spirit of patriotism, is one that resonates with Nigeria's current trajectory, where citizens have become lukewarm to issues of service for national development. In this report, Kelvin Ehonaye examines the place of patriotism in nationhood.
It takes two elements to build a country: leadership and followership. Their action or inaction ultimately reflect on the direction a country will take. The act of patriotism is embedded in putting the interest of the country first in all ramifications, and when a country has majority of patriotic citizens, the task of nation building becomes easier.
Nigerians have already lost it. We no longer have confidence in our values. We no longer have confidence in our institutions. These institutions ranging from cultural institutions, from religious institutions, as well as the community as an institution.
It is only when we have this country at heart, thinking that I'm not thinking about anything except my country. That is how other countries grow. If you go to other countries, you see that some even believe in their country more than anything else. But in Nigeria today, the selfish interest has taken over the center stage.
The role of leaders in value reorientation among citizens is one key factor. When leaders lead by examples, citizens find an easy template to follow. This can be achieved through good governance and empathy in policy formulation.
Much aware, there are policies, there are programs, there are a lot of initiatives being created to better the lives of ordinary Nigerians. But the means and the ways in which these policies and programs are being initiated is another thing.
Very, very important if we discuss about stories of our past heroes. This is going to make a positive impact and people will look at them as mentors, as role models, and is going to change the attitude of people toward a core patriotism and positive citizens today in the country.
But of concern in recent times is the nonchalant attitude or outright bad behavior among some Nigerians in matters of nation building, which has rubbed off on the country's image badly, locally or internationally, with the reputation of the green passports suffering the heat most of the times. This is why observers believe that the diaspora community also has a role to play.
The representation of these people can go a long way in redeeming the image of Nigeria. How do I say so? Wherever you find yourself as a citizens of this country, it's just for you to say good about the nation. Make it good presentations in terms of representation, in terms of advocacy, because what you say, we have direct either implication on even the citizen in either positive or negative way. So it's just like what is being the slogan that has been going on in the National Orientation Agency, that the right thing begin with me. So if the right thing, anybody in Nigeria do the right thing in their respective field, I think it will translate back into the good image of Nigeria.
Going back to the beginning, through deliberate effort in instilling national values in school children, vigorous awareness campaign by the National Orientation Agency and other stakeholders have been identified as a viable way to tackle the challenge.
The news ends here. Thanks for watching. I am Mina Daniels.